Hey everyone, Temporal here, and today we have a fun one. We did just get a developer update. It was a developer update live stream where they told us a little bit more about Overwatch 2, what's going on in the alpha, and as you likely saw in the thumbnail, they did confirm that the beta's release date for those that end up getting selected for it is going to be April 26th. I should warn you that they did also say they expect later today there's going to be an FAQ of sorts up over on the Play Overwatch website where we registered for the beta to give a little bit more into their selection criteria, where I'm sure they're trying to pick some variety of different computer builds, different things like that, different skill levels, all that. So maybe you should have your alt accounts be at different SRs than your main account. I don't know. Maybe we'll have to give them more information. We'll find out when that FAQ goes up. But what I'd say was most interesting in what this stream did, they talked some about, oh yeah, Overwatch 1, Overwatch 2, they've grown their team. When Overwatch 1 released, it was 70, now it's 200, it's bigger, they're going to be able to do this live service thing better, all that. But what was really interesting was they confirmed a lot of things that we actually got just a little bit before in what's really a leaked document here. We can see that GG Recon here has spoken with multiple people who were on the closed alpha and are sharing anonymously. And hey, we wouldn't know what to make of this. We wouldn't know if this was real or not, except that enough of what was referenced in here gets just a little bit to confirm it here, or gets itself fully confirmed here, which tends to go, hey, this looks like it's pretty good. Specifically, some of the things that we're seeing is, yes, Doomfist has in fact been moved over to being a tank, which is what a lot of us were expecting to happen. It looks like he's got a little bit more going on there. Obviously, he's got the bigger health pool. He's got less damage. It looks like he has a little bit more of sort of a jump to engage there. We'll get into exactly what's going on there in our leak, as we get a little bit in some of those things. Here, we can even read what it says right here. Doomfist has moved to the tank role and had his kit adjusted, as well as his HP increased. Rocket Punch had its damage lowered significantly, but received additional functionality through a new ability of the kit. We didn't hear exactly this from the developer update, so this part we don't know to be confirmed, but we did hear in the update, hey, he's a tank, his damage is down, his health is up, that sort of thing, and it sounds like he's currently one of the better tanks in the field. It sounds like Reinhardt is struggling, it sounds like he's doing pretty well. That wouldn't really surprise me coming from a professional coach perspective of what 5 heroes on the board should do. Displacement is going to be at a premium. The Wrecking Ball's the Doomfist, that makes sense. We see the new skill Power Block allows him to absorb damage for a short amount of time, will charge his Rocket Punch's damage temporarily to comparable levels as they are on live today. Didn't hear that specifically in the update, but this sounds pretty right, confirmed overall. Rising Uppercut and Seismic Slam have been made into one ability, in that Doomfist will uppercut at the start of his new ability while slamming down in a much wider area to provide ground control, which makes sense. If we think of how the tank engages work, like Wrecking Ball's pile drive, for example, those have been bigger areas. If he's a tank, he's going to be more about controlling the enemy if you've lowered his damage. Sounds like it'll be pretty oppressive. Sounds like it will be pretty good if he doesn't get further tuned down, which he might. So that would be one thing we heard about. Another thing we heard about was Orisa. They did tell us, yes, that she is now a Javelin hero, as you saw in the thumbnail. And what we specifically hear over here, we get more detail, of course, in this leak document than we do from the live stream itself. But they did confirm, yeah, she's a Javelin hero. We got enough to go, okay, this sounds right then. Orisa's kit has changed significantly. On her previous kit, she only keeps her Fortify ability, which now also gives her additional HP. Okay, so that's still a defensive tanking cooldown. She received 3 new abilities, and that's a little weird that her Fortify is giving her additional HP, because, like, Fortify was already almost impossible to take Orisa's down through. Assuming that when they split the game was after she already still had the Fortify that didn't make her take headshots, like, that they feel the need to give her additional HP, maybe suggests that, hey, the healing in combat nerf type stuff that they've described earlier, maybe that is really, really impactful, because Orisa was already really tough to take down during Fortify. So I'm a little surprised to see that. She's received 3 new abilities, while her Holt Supercharger and Protective Barrier have been removed. Instead, she has received a new ability called Energy Spear, a javelin which knocks opponents back upon hit and deals additional damage when shoving them into the wall. So she's just gonna get in there and shove people into the wall with her javelin. Okay. Her new E ability, Spear Spin, will destroy projectiles in front of Orisa, giving her additional movement speed and push enemies out of the way. So a little bit more, probably not as fast, but similar in some ways to a wrecking ball going through there with a tether. She's going to go, oh, spin her spear and push forward and sort of push things out of the way, as well as, it'll be a shield that destroys projectiles. So that'll certainly be interesting to see. It's a big change for Orisa. If you've been working on your Orisa gameplay to prepare for Overwatch 2, probably doesn't make sense anymore. Probably makes sense to work on another hero. Not because I'm saying, hey, Overwatch 2 Orisa is going to be bad. I don't know that yet. We'd really have to see more, see what the cooldowns look like. But clearly this is going to be a very different hero than what we have now, and I wouldn't expect much practice on her, much of the skills you've built to carry over. But we will ultimately see. And then up here we've got, hey, Sojourn is strong, likely overtuned. And we were getting that from the live stream as well here. They talked about that. They were surprised what professional players could do with Sojourn with, hey, wait, this is a one-shot on 200 HP heroes if you hit railgun headshots, and the pros are pretty good at hitting that. Now, people may get better at avoiding those and not letting those happen, at getting those, predicting those sort of things, and that may become less of an issue as time goes on, like Roadhog hooks became less of an issue as people got better at the game. We may see something like that. We could also have had just wild impressions from, apparently, for the first hour or two of the alpha, Sojourn didn't have any voice lines. So she showed up, wasn't making voice lines when she used her ults, when she used her abilities, and maybe that just left, scarred people's mindsets, and therefore they're more terrified of her than they need to be. But my understanding is they did get that fixed pretty quickly. They've now had a few days with it since then, and she still seems to be pretty powerful. In terms of what we have here, and that they did confirm in the live stream, for example. And what we have here is almost universally, sources agree that Sojourn has left strong first impressions and is likely overtuned. Sources have advised that she will need to be adjusted down a notch, as she currently dishes out an oppressive amount of damage through her railgun ability. The sources for this is probably either players or Blizzard friends. We've heard the people in the alpha, as they told us in the live stream, are lots of Blizzard employees, the OWL players, and then some close Blizzard family and friends. It sounds like some Blizzard employees maybe had 1 or 2 people that they could invite, and maybe some of those people leaked, maybe some Blizzard employees leaked who aren't particularly high up, or maybe they leaked it intentionally to stir stuff up as part of the PR campaign, in which case it would have been higher level people leaking it, or maybe OWL pros leaked it on the condition of anonymity. Wow, anonymity. Ugh, I give up. On the condition of being anonymous. How's that? Okay. Okay, so let's take a look. Oh, yeah, so these sources are probably not the people actually doing the bounce. They may have said, it may have been pros that said, hey, we think she needs to go down. It sounds like the developers do agree, based on this live stream, that, oops, she's a little better than they thought. And it also sounds like the developers had their own sort of internal meta that they were playing the game at, how they were playing the game, and when the pros showed up, it completely destroyed their vision of what the meta was. Sounds like that's happened before in their beta tests of patches, things like that, so they're not too surprised. But it does sort of reconfirm what we've known when we've reviewed devs playing pre-test versions of the game where they look pretty silver, and silvers play the game very, very differently than, higher portions of the latter. Right, so we were saying through her railgun, allowing her to one-shot headshot 200 HP targets, and her disruptor shot, a grenade-like field that also slows enemies in an area around it. So slowing people down and then having a 200 HP one-shot headshot, that, that's okay, easier to hit your headshot, you've slowed down the target. I could see why that would be overpowered. Her power slide ability is both horizontal and vertical movement, and is that a 5-second? What are you doing? 5-second vertical and horizontal mobility, slow down your opponent's 200 HP one-shot headshot. Yeah, that's gonna be too powerful. Now, maybe this field is her ultimate that slows people down. I know Railgun isn't her ultimate. Maybe this disruptor thing is her ultimate, so she doesn't get to slow people down very much, but that sounds silly, what they've combined into a hero's kit here. And a 5 second cooldown is not very much. That's 5 second cooldown, so we're clear. That's like Diva Winston Wrecking Ball levels of mobility. I'm sure it doesn't take her as far as those moves do, but those are some short cooldowns for movement. Genji would love a 5 second cooldown for dash, for example. In practice, it apparently plays like an improved and more fluid version of Baptiste's exo boots, and which are not terribly hard to control. So that's really what we've got, and I'd say those were the most important things that came out of this developer update. We mostly confirmed what we got just a little bit before in this leak here that we have over on GG Recon, which, hey, that's good. Good to see. We know a little bit more about the new hero Sojourn. We saw the significant rework to Orisa's kit. We have some idea of how that works. We see Doomfist. Hey, you have in fact been moved over to the tank category as we expected. That's really what we saw. Other than that, do make sure you head over either later today or tomorrow to play Overwatch to see what they have up there for the FAQ. I may do something else covering that if we see interesting stuff up there, but make sure you get over there and check that out. And I'll do a quick update on chat to share. I'll do a quick update with chat. I want to keep this a little bit short, but what do we have here? Climb to GM for a higher chance of getting beta challenge. I doubt it. I doubt that that's going to be a significantly higher chance. I think they're going to want to spread on the ladder. And it sounds like they probably already have plenty of GM representation through OWL. They're actually probably looking for more like, if I had to guess, they're probably looking for more diamond players, that sort of thing, because we've seen what they can do. Diamond, high plat, that's probably a place where they're actually a little lighter on players because they invited the OWL pros and they have their employees. And their employees are not hard playing the game all the time. They have their job. Their job is, working on the game or QA or whatever. Those are not going to be your top 8% of the player-based players, top 25% of the player-based players. We've seen them before, and it looks like they're about silver. So if they have good representation at that sort of below average, and they have representation at the top from the alpha already, I would expect that they'd be more going for like upper middle, but I don't know that. That's just speculation. Can't wait for artillery cannon Orisa. I'm not even sure she's going to have a cannon anymore. I think she's just going to be chucking javelins, but we'll see. We'll see. No shield anymore. Well, she doesn't have a shield, but she spins her spear in front of her like she's some, children's cartoon or, maybe an anime or something. I don't mean to equate those two things, but like she's, or from a movie, I'm going to spin this spear in front of me to block bullets, whatever. Like some fiction, effectively, is where I'm trying to go with this. Spin her spear in front of her to block bullets. Okay. I guess that's a shield. We'll see. Overwatch 2 will be more blue beam mercy heavy. Probably, if they've really lowered in combat healing. I don't know exactly what that's looked like. If they just lowered the amount of healing in general or what. We've certainly heard complaints. We've seen a leak already from someone that went up on Twitter of, hey, supports felt bad, especially main supports. We've seen in this live update, the developers did talk about, hey, supports feel kind of bad. They weren't exactly hiding that supports felt pretty bad. They were like, oh, there's so much more space on the map for flankers, for tracers to show up and just be on your supports because the maps are bigger and the off tank isn't there. So, or they actually said that the off tanks are more popular and the main tanks are suffering. They said that people are mostly agreeing that Reinhardt isn't very good. That to me doesn't actually say that main tanks are bad. That more says like Reinhardt is bad. It depends how you want to think about tanks, but Reinhardt is always a tank that has benefited from resources like Zarya bubbles, like Lucio speed, like Ana healing. He's always like DM over him while he's swinging. He's always benefited from having a lot of resources poured into him, and he's gonna get less poured into him without an off tank on the bubble. No Zarya on the table. No Zarya bubble. No DM to protect him while swinging. Sure, there's also less incoming damage on him, but I'm not terribly surprised that he's struggling. Winston might also struggle. Winston has probably been the second choice main tank for liking resource investment. Main tanks that didn't require resource investment to do their job, like Wrecking Ball, still may be in good shape. I guess that only leaves us one more main tank in Orisa who's been completely reworked. So I guess you could say, hey, main tanks have struggled, but I think really what you're saying is, hey, My guess is they're telling us this Doomfist is working pretty well. I expect Wrecking Ball, who's very similar to Doomfist, and Big Disruptor is probably working very well. I would have expected that just from my professional coach background, that based on, hey, if you're removing a tank from the game, someone like Wrecking Ball would do pretty well. We'd have to see. I think a very, self-survivable character like Mercy that can do some damage, that can get around and not die, I could see that being good. I could still see Mercy being a good hero, but we'll have to see. That's ultimately going to depend on how much is she helping DPS. If this is a game where DPS take over, or a game where DPS do a lot, a support that's built to support DPS, to enable DPS like Mercy, and can use a lot of blue beam, that could be a good hero. We'll have to see, Val. Was a certain former contenders and current collegiate coach invited to play Overwatch 2? I wasn't invited to the alpha, or if I was, I'd have to pretend that I wasn't because, there'd be an NDA. You're not going to see me accidentally open it on stream, that's for sure. No, I wasn't. I wasn't invited, or I'm lying because I have to. One of the two. But no, I am not playing on the alpha currently. I hope I get selected for the beta. Heard some Blizzard employees aren't even Diamond. Most of them aren't. Are they really qualified to have opinion on balance matters at this point? So, Levy, you don't have to be high ranked to have an opinion on balance matters is the thing. What you look at with that is like, keep in mind, balancing a game, building a game is different than playing a game. You can balance a game without being 4,400 yourself. That is a thing that can be done. I don't necessarily hate that some of the people who are working on it aren't, at particularly high SRs. That's not the worst thing in the world. You do need some of them. They do need to have an understanding of how those higher games work, those higher level games work, but it's not the end of the world that they're not all up there. I do wish their average SR looked a little bit higher than it seems to based on what we saw when we analyzed their gameplay and such. But I understand why it's not. There's a lot of people that have been grinding Overwatch for a long time, and you have to remember the people that are still playing Overwatch, even if they're in middling ranks like gold, it's a pretty good gold compared to when the game was initially released. And for these guys, the game is, their job. They probably actually didn't play it nearly as much as the people who are these days gold, these days plat, that sort of thing. So it would be nice if they were better. I'm not terribly worried that they're not. Balancing the game is a different skill than playing it. There is a reason that they don't just listen to the pros and go, oh yeah, let's put your change in there. Oh yeah, let's put your change in there. The pros sometimes have wild ideas of what they should do to balance things. The pros sometimes do things like, no, Diva's DM is awful, shouldn't be allowed to exist. No, we need, Rez is evil, shouldn't be allowed to exist. Like, the pros sometimes just go, anything that's not allowing me to have fun all the time is bad. And Overwatch 2 is already looking a little bit like it's in that direction of anything that isn't allowing me to have all the fun all the time is bad. And we're seeing, potentially, removing stuns except on tanks, less CC, more space in the form of no off tank in the thing, and we're already seeing that's potentially leaving to supports not having a good time. So we will have to see. Hopefully there is some actual, hey, wait, we are balancers, we are game devs, we're thinking about the balance, how to make the game work, not just, oh, hey, I want what's fun right now, like some of the pros tend to do. They said developers don't play the game? Pretty much. Darth Maul, Orisa. Best case, it's decent. Worst case, it's unplayable. It might surprise us. I mean, they've got a little time to iterate on this. They have already iterated once, at least, on the alpha patch that they have out there, so they could iterate some more, and then we could have a pretty solid beta. But they do have to get this beta right. Like, they have to get this beta right, and then the game on release, whatever that ends up being, if they make some big thing out of it, or if they just roll out the beta to more and more people, and then eventually go, hey, it's released, whatever it is, it's gonna have to be in a pretty good state. They really don't have room to fumble more than once here. People are hoping that this game is going to be good, waiting with bated breath, going, hey, this could be great, but what exactly is going to happen? If healing is less good in Overwatch 2, Moira is a bad hero then? Probably, but they could have also reworked her. We don't know. I haven't heard about a Moira rework, but it's possible that they have one in the works, that sort of thing. Plus, she's already a pretty bad hero, to be perfectly honest. honest. I don't think Aaron has the hairline to have that hairstyle. He struggled honestly in this. Like when he wasn't talking, when Jeff was talking, you would see Aaron was like he was staring into the camera, sure, but it looked like he was constantly afraid that Jeff was going to say something that he shouldn't. And I don't actually think that's what's going on because Jeff is high enough level that like hey, if he wants to reveal something, A, it's not actually the end of the world, but B, if he wants to reveal something, he's high enough level to know that there's consequences for that and what are you doing and, you know, high enough in that team, etc. But Aaron did sort of look when other people were talking like he was in pain or something. I don't know. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. When he was talking, he was doing just fine. It's okay if it's bad to play support because flankers, they can just release new supports that hard counter all flankers by ourselves and force them not to flank. Oh, so we're just starting the Overwatch 1 life cycle all over again, where the game started with a, hey, it's tough to play support, but the game is in a really fun place. And then we said, oh, supports don't like that, so we make the support stronger and stronger and fight off flankers, and we make flankers less effective at being anti-supports, which is really what their design sort of was in the first place, and instead we move the game over to just destroy tanks. And then the tanks, which there is naturally a smaller population of, start leaving the game, start not having fun, start switching over to DPS and support, and queue times get worse and worse. Oh, we're doing that storyline again. Okay. I see it. Exactly your thought as well. Yeah, no, I definitely noticed, and they might be going, hey, the way that Overwatch 1 played in the beginning is what they want back. More people were playing the game then. Was that a newness bias, or was that was a version of the game that more people liked then? Hard to know, because the game was always going to be solved at some point, and even before they started nerfing support or buffing supports, nerfing flankers effectively, we were seeing the game start to move towards a punish the tanks rather than the support direction, just in the natural way it played, the natural way it was evolving. So it's going to be hard to know. Obviously, that was furthered by releasing heroes like Moira, like Original Brig, etc. It's depressed in that picture? Little bit. I just wish they showed some footage of the stuff they were talking about, even if it was unfinished. Yeah, if they'd just given us a little bit of B-roll, that would have been great. Like, give us a little bit of B-roll while you're talking. That would be fantastic. I sadly don't have B-roll of Overwatch 2 to show you because, you know, they didn't give us that either, or I would play some of that in the background. Get rid of all supports and tanks. Dev team probably... I don't think they're going to go quite that far. Okay. I think that's going to do it. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you think. If you think, hey, this is great, this looks fantastic, leave a comment in the description below. If you think this is the end of the world, it's over, Overwatch has no more chance. If you think, hey, you have a take on this is going to be the tank that really matters, or these are going to be the supports that really work, or every game is going to be Sojourn plus Doomfist plus Mercy plus whoever, plus Sombra, you know, let us know. Let us know what you think there. I'm certainly curious, and we will be doing more Overwatch 2 coverage leading up to it, as well as making more predictions as time goes on. We'll probably start getting into some videos that are specific. Okay, which tanks are likely to be played based on what we know so far? Which DPS are likely to be played based on what we know so far? Those sort of things. Like, is Sojourn Sombra going to be a DPS combo? Or have they told us that they're going to nerf Sombra enough? Who really knows? But that's going to do it for now. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one.